Okay, I think it's actually a nice continuity from the previous conversation about the importance of data. Something I picked up with Cortex is a lot was said about integrating and connecting data, and that leads into something that I'm going to cover today, and that is that underlying data. If that is not accurate, all the connections and integrated systems have a challenge. But thank you for your time, and the last session, I believe, today, with all the lasers and drones, and oh, there's one more to go. Okay. I got beaten with that one, but with all the fancy tech out there and you are in this room for the data, that to me is a good sign, so thank you for that. I'm Johannes. I look after pre-sales for Syniti across the APJ region, as been mentioned, and I'll start today with a video. I hope the sound works. Let's see.
Since when did high standards become a bad thing? And when did mediocre somehow become A-okay? When it comes to your data, high standards shouldn't be unrealistic or unreasonable. They're table stakes. At Syniti, part of Capgemini, setting the bar high is the starting point of your data journey. We have to lead in low expectations, mediocre milestones, or missing the mark. And A-OK is not in our DNA. Our platform, people and processes ensure that your highest standards get met. That's why we welcome wishful thinking. We specialize in pipe dreams. And we serve plenty of pie in the sky. Because we believe that your data deserves high standards. Idealistically high, in fact. With a platform that elevates data management. Data migrations that align with your business goals. Delivering data that's AI ready, business ready, and people ready. With 99.9% accuracy, on time, and on budget. If that sounds unrealistic, you've been listening to the wrong people. So go ahead, expect more. And bring us your unrealistic expectations. We'll make them real.
Can I ask a question? Who in the room thinks data is important? I knew that answer. Who thinks that AI needs accurate data? Yes, you can use AI to correct your data, but you also need accurate data to trust your AI. I guess, who has used ChatGPT before? How many times have you had to feed him more information before you get what you need? That we call data in context. So everything for us is about your underlying data being accurate so that you can trust the data. So our session today is about getting trusted data. And in the mining industry, that is obviously very important to have that trusted foundation for you to make decisions on, for you to get operational efficiency, and all the other things that goes around that. Now, if you have a heart condition, you will probably go to a cardiologist. If you have a dental probably needs some implants, you'll probably go to someone that doesn't do knee surgeries. And the point that I'm making is you'll go to someone who's a specialist in the field that they are doing. Now, that's what Syniti is all about. We are the data specialists. So if you have data requirements around harmonization or deduplication or transformation into a new system, we specialize specifically in the data. So that's all we do. So that's just an intro in terms of who Syniti is and what we do. Now, our key theme of today is to expect more. We think in the market, the expectation of average data has sort of been a status quo. A lot of organizations go through transformation journeys, and knowing data is an issue, and they lift and shift and just go through with it and get it into to the future state system and then deal with that later. And we believe it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't just accept okay data when you transform systems, or for that matter, in your normal business as usual. Every company that we go and visit, if we ask them, do you have data problems? They have data problems in some bucket, whether it's a material data or with customer data or vendor data. There's always some sort of white elephant in the room. And we believe that shouldn't be the case. You should be comfortable to know your data statistics at any point in time, and we can help with that. So just moving on, as I mentioned, Syniti we are all data specialists. The entire company only do data. We don't do implementation, we don't do change management, we don't do all the other fancy stuff. We only look after data. That does mean that we have a very unique skill set. Our resources are techno-functional. We have software, we're a software-led services organization, which means the resources that we deploy with the software that is available to accelerate and automate a lot of the data activities, it means we can deploy a different type of resource to help you with your data journey. So as was mentioned, we're part of Capgemini, but yeah, I just wanted to quickly give you an overview for those who have not heard of Syniti before. Now, let's just talk about a use case. A lot of money is being invested in predictive analytics, predictive maintenance, sensors, you know, all the information that flows from your sensors to your SCADAs to your historians, and then that gets connected to your core anchor systems. Typically, in our world, that gets into the SAP ERP system. Now, if you cannot identify, you cannot predict. It's all good and well if you maybe have a preventive maintenance system or a sensor that looks at your pumps and picks up a vibration that sort of is a warning that you need to go and do something about that bearing. But if you do not have that part correctly categorized in your ERP system, it means you might send the wrong part to the replacement. The work order might pick the wrong part, or you might send the plant worker to the incorrect location because your ERP system didn't have the location information correct. So on the right-hand side, that is what we specialize in. So all the smarts and the sensors and the analytics that sits on top of the data, we specialize in making sure that the underlying data is accurate, standardized, complete, and in a transformation journey, given that this is a digital transformation track, if you upgrade systems or if you move to a new system, typically your future state system also have a new target data model, and you need to change your current data to marry into that target data model. And that's what we specialize in. And ultimately for us, everything ties back to the outcomes. So we like to have an outcome-driven approach where we want to understand what you want to achieve as a business, and then we work backwards from that. So in this case, all of those sensors eventually roll up to the goal of maximizing the uptime or reducing your spend. Now, if you don't have all of your data accurate, you can have some leakage there. So that's what we try and focus on. Now, if we talk about transformation programs, who here has gone through a transformation journey from one system to another? I can ask that. Are there any individuals here that's been in implementation projects before? Yes. Okay, cool. So if I can ask, who owns the data quality? Who owns that? Is it no one? That's usually more or less the case. So the reality is business owns the data. So you'll typically contract an implementation partner to implement a new system, but instead of going to the specialist, you also ask them to do your data transformation, your data migration for you. But the reality is the data is still the business responsibility. Data quality is the business responsibility. So if you go and look at the contract and the RACI, you'll see that you're still on the hook. So even though you've contracted someone to do the data work, they will only move the data. So what do you pay the implementation partners for? To move the data, not to get rid of your duplicates, not to restructure your data, not to construct missing data. They will only take the data that you've given them and they will help you to migrate it into the new system, which means all the risk sits with you as the end customer. And part of their revenue model would be to hit you with change requests, because delays because of data readiness is not a problem for the typical implementation partner. That to them is a revenue stream. And that's where we are different, and now Capgemini is also different from all the other implementation partners because they have us as part of their offering, and basically, you know, the traditional method is at the customer's expense, and the business outcomes, the real reason for why the whole implementation program was built in the first place, is not met. So Syniti partners with the business. We actually, as part of the RACI, we are on the hook to make sure that the data is business ready by the time you go live in the new system. So we help the business with cleansing and construction, and it's not only about reporting the errors, it's actually fixing the errors. So that makes us unique in the market, and we are happy to obviously elaborate a little bit on that later at our booth, but that's how we are placed in the market. Now, this to me is, I personally like this slide because it sort of sums it all up for us. It's a bit technical, but ultimately what this is saying is to load the data into the future state system is only a small part. There's a lot of ETL tools in the market, extract, transform, load, but again, that's just to move the data into the future system. In some cases, you might get some of the vendors to actually help to at least see whether the data complies with the configurational requirements, but they never look at it from a business perspective. Example, if a business wants to embark on a transformation journey and they want to improve inventory management as an example, there are certain attributes and data elements that you can zoom in on to ensure that you hit that outcome that what you want to achieve. Lifting and shifting data won't give you that outcome. So that's where we spend our time. We have the software to automate a lot of that ETL stuff, but then we zoom in on the things that matter to the business and to the outcomes that we want to achieve. So this sums up where we spend our time. We automate the lift and shift, and we spend the majority of our time to help customers to get their data ready. So ultimately, what we want to say is you need to expect more from your data. Everything runs on data. Every AI, algorithm, every system, everything runs on data. It should be okay to expect your data to be business ready. Expect more from your partner. You need the partner that goes with you onto this journey to have skin in the game. You want them to be on the hook to make sure that there's no black boxes, no over-engineering, no change request strategies. Let your partner, your data vendor, actually help you to transform your data so that it is business ready. And ultimately, you want to have your outcomes that you were after. Now again, bringing it back to the mining industry, a lot of material data, a lot of equipment data, and all of that eventually ties back into decision making, preventive maintenance, and ultimately your operational efficiency. If you do not treat your data as an asset over time, it's a lost opportunity. A lot of organizations say, yes, data is important, yes, data is an asset, but they don't necessarily invest in that data as if it is an asset. So that's what we bring, and we don't only look after your data transformation, your data migration. We actually help organizations to build the data assets within an implementation program so that it is also governed in your future state operating model. So data quality, data governance, the cataloging of all the information that you have in your ecosystem so that you can eventually have your data in a trusted state. So that's basically what we do. We help organizations to transform their data, to optimize the data quality, to deliver faster time to value, and to execute with confidence. We are not only in the mining industry, we are actually across all industries because data is everywhere. But in terms of our market, I'm not always allowed to call out the logos, but we do have the two biggest Australian mining firms as our clients, and one of them we've been helping since 1996, I believe. But yes, energy, Endeavour Energy, all the utility companies, all the pharmaceutical companies, all those organizations with a lot of data are typically good clients of ours. And it all boils down to we specialize in data. So whenever you have a complex transformation program, or where you have data governance issues or data quality issues, we can help with that. And you can come and visit us at our booth on K36. So it's just outside the door, then we can double click on some of the topics for you. Thank you for your time.